So it's been a while now, hasn't it? So I'm going to be doing a quick introduction for those who don't know what is this series. Since we've already gotten like a couple of people just joining into the channels ever since I did the last video, which was 5 months ago. So if you don't want to hear anything, if you already know what is everything regarding the series, then I will leave a link right there on somewhere on screen for you to skip directly into the intro. For those who don't know what is this video series, is going to be the 40k PR project, which is a series that I started back on the channel back in the 20,000 power rank on every single class, which was, when that was considered impressive. And then obviously the 30k PR series, where I actually did all of the characters at 30,000 power rank after the Crystal Combat update, which is still to this day my most popular series. So this is just going to be a video series where I showcase every single character at their power rank in the highest difficulty uber well, while giving my own personal opinion on the class and how it does plays out. The 20 and 30k PR series were live commentary with barely any editing, and the 40k PR series I decided to do a lot of editing, but I realized that it was 30 to 40 minutes of footage on live commentary, and consider that there's 18 characters, you can quickly see that it takes a long time to actually just make one of those videos. And you have to take into account that during that time I was doing events, I was doing store pack showcase, I was doing stuff when update came out. There were so many things that were in between, so for the most part making those videos just took a long time to make. So I decided to just cut it down, make a post commentary because it was easier for me in general. But at the point that I started doing a post commentary, I was just essentially just burned out of the series, and I decided to focus on the other project. So after 5 months of not doing this series, I decided to just do it like this. I am going to be doing post commentary, of course. I will not be overly explaining my equipment because most of the things are just going to be self-explanatory. I'm just going to be focusing 100% on just talking about the class, just giving my own personal opinion, because at the end of the day, it's my own opinions on the class and what do I feel on the character. So it is hopefully a lot easier for me to actually do, and of course still enjoyable for everyone else in regards to this series. So yeah, that's all I just wanted to say in regards to this series, because obviously of course it's been 5 months and I just wanted to just come back and just start talking about this series. It's just for the heck of it, it's just a fun series. So it is what it is. Anyways, all of the rest of the classes that I've already done, I will leave that in the description down below in a playlist. And if you want to see any other character, just let me know in the comment section down below. And if you want me to just recover some of the other characters that I've already done in the past, considering that I have a lot more experience with the game, then just let me know. I will try to redo a video on some of the other characters. With all that being said, let's enjoy the 40k PR series on the Dracolyte. Welcome to the 40k PR project. This time around, I will be going over my Dracolyte. My power rank, stats, gear, and gems will be showcased right now, and I will be explaining everything briefly. Also, let's ignore that I have 79 jumps. Alright, so my equipment is going to be a full crystal level 4 set with a crystal level 3 ring. Hat and faces do have critical damage and movement speed, and the weapon is going to be energy regen movement speed. The ring is also energy regeneration, and I don't have hidden effects. The reason I decided to use a lot of energy regeneration on the Dracolyte is mainly because I use this class for like lazy low delving grinding, so I just constantly just throw down burnt offering while grinding low delving, so that's why I just have double energy regeneration on this character. My ally is going to be Orchid because of movement speed. I do have the permatorch because I will be using that on every class. Free range electrolytic crystal as my food because it's easy 300 light. Arcane trailblazing as my emblem, arcane damage trailblazing movement speed. Conjurer's Crucial Bell as my flask. I use this flask on every single character in U11 because I do have high magic find, and I will be using the Bard subclass, the personal song. My empowered gem abilities are going to be 𝗘𝘃𝗀𝗏, Pyrodist, Class Gem, and Berserk Battler. 𝗘𝘃𝗃𝗏 mainly because of stats, Pyrodist because it's the best regular empowered gem ability in the game with damage and movement speed, Class Gem because it's obvious, and Berserk Battler again because I use this class mainly for delving. And now here's also my star shard build. If you want more detail in regards to the star shard build, I will be just going and just leaving that in the description down below because I've already done a video and why do I use all of the nodes that I use. Lastly, it's going to be my custom combination. My custom combination is going to be the Dracolyte from the Terrific Tree store pack, which is a Shadows Eve event store pack. The hat style is going to be the 𝗘𝘃𝗃𝗍 helmet from the 𝗘𝘃𝗃𝗍 Pollinator Chloromancer custom, which is a custom that you actually craft in the Chaotic Combinator crafting bench. And then lastly is going to be the Mecha Staff from the Mecha Dracolyte costume, which is a costume that you get from the store. And yeah, that should pretty much cover all of the things that I do have on this class. Now, let's start talking about the class inside U11 and just giving out some of my opinions. Note, again, these are just opinions. I don't know why I needed to make that statement, but here you go. How does the Draco fare in U11? And my answer is going to be that it does alright. It can dish heavy amounts of damage or burst damage in general, and it does have really great crowd control. However, it's just being limited to being a setup type class with mediocre movement speed buff. I know it does have the lava movement speed buff, which is 75%, and that is the second highest movement speed buff in the game behind Need for Speed from Lunar Lancer. But you need to be constantly touching lava to maintain the movement speed buff, and unless you're doing the fire world, that's not going to be something that is going to happen very often. Once again, this being a setup class, it means that it's not built for speed farming. So in order for you to get the most out of this class, you need to keep throwing down burnt offerings. And by the time the burnt offering detonates, other classes can easily just kill the boss and just move on. Of course, once it detonates, burst damage from this class is very good because it's every burnt offering that does damage, which I believe is 5 times damage per burnt offering, which is quite a bit, especially if you do have multiple of them. And it can become really good, especially if you do have energy regen, which will allow you to throw more than 3 constantly immediately. So yeah, it does have the burst damage capability, crowd control because burn offering is a bomb, and it does have the damage, but it's a setup character. And you're going to see a trend going on with this class, which is going to have a really big positive, but it's also going to have a really big negative. Like I just mentioned, it has statistically the second highest movement speed buff in the game, 75% to be precise, with a 3-second timer and essentially a 1-second cooldown. This is insane if you actually just look at it on paper. The only movement speed that is higher than this one is going to be Lunar Lancer's Need for Speed at 85%, 10% higher than this one. But outside of that, the only thing that comes close is going to be level 9 Path Painter at 60%, Shadow Flare for Neon Ninja Spin to Win from Candy Barbarian, which is 50%, again 25% less movement speed than the lava movement speed buff granted from Draco. However, the problem is that it doesn't proc often, obviously, because you need to be constantly touching lava, so it's not a consistent movement speed buff. When it triggers, it's fast, but the majority of the time it just is not active, and 75%, while being good, is not consistent. And the other movement speed buff that you can actually just get on Draco is the ultimate ability. The thing is, it's only plus 10 movement speed, so you're barely going to notice any difference. So you can actually see in terms of the movement speed, it has really big benefits in the movement speed department with 75%, but the problem is that it is inconsistent. It's not something that you're going to see very often. Secondly, it's going to be the basic attack. The basic attack is okay for new players, but if we're talking about U11, it's just not good. It's a 1.5 times damage multiplier basic attack with 4 attacks per second that cannot be increased with attack speed gear, which is quite bad. The range is okay at 6 blocks, and the crowd control can be just pretty good because it's a literal flamethrower. However, when you do use your ultimate ability, the damage just gets increased to double the amount, so 3 times damage. Not too much, you get a 50% damage increase, like bonus magic damage increase whenever you are in your ult. The attacks per second gets increased to 5.5. Overall, just becomes not extremely good, but it becomes decent enough that it will be like a actual strong basic attack. It's around the same realm as Lunar Lancer currently, with 3 times damage, 5.5 attacks per second, and Lunar Lancer max attack speed is around the same, about 2.8 and around 5 attacks per second, give or take, and max attack speed. So for the most part, it's going to be around the same as a max attack speed Lunar Lancer. And obviously, of course, like I just mentioned, it does have the 50% bonus magic damage on the bonus percentages. So it is going to be 3 times damage, including the magic damage boosted from the ultimate ability. The only problem is that ultimate ability 15-second timer, 40 seconds of cooldown. So it is going to be an ability that is not going to be proccing very often, unless you're using cooldown reduction, of course. And then you will be thinking, alright, then what about Spitfire? Spitfire, instant cast ability that can do pretty decent damage, a single target, but it's pretty good that it can just throw down an instant ability with practically no animation speed that does 6.45 times damage, pretty good range. But the thing is like, it can be really good on paper, just dishing out like an instant burst damage against bosses, and not to mention like building momentum speed. Like this character with Spitfire can just build momentum like really good. All of them are just great properties, of course excluding being single target. But then you do realize that it is not a spammable ability. You get it by hitting enemies 3 times with basic. And before you mention about the hidden effect Firestorm that allows you to just keep spamming the ability, that is not something that is going to be available at any moment. So it's not a really good instant cast ability. So again, it does have the damage, it has no animation speed. It's essentially just a really good tool for momentum building, but the problem is that it's not active all the time. So again, big benefits, big drawbacks. What about the Burn Offering with the class gem ability Burning Ward? Excellent burst damage capability for one-shotting, good for burst DPS, good for DPS in general for the newer players if you don't have a lot of stats. Great crowd control in general because it's literally bombs, but it is going to be a bomb that it has to detonate. It's not an instant cast ability. Even though it doesn't have a cooldown of you throwing out the bomb, you generally have to throw out the bomb and then attack it to have it detonate. It's not like some of the other characters where you press an ability, instant cast ability, instant damage. This one has to just essentially just wait it out. And this is going to be another ability that costs a lot of energy, 65 energy to be precise. So that's why I would just recommend you to have something that would just have a lot of recovery for energy, because this is going to be definitely something that's going to be a problem if you don't have. Again, this is going to be your main burst damage for bossing, and for 𝗘𝘃𝗃𝗍 obviously is your crowd control. So you will be using this ability constantly, and not having energy, it means that you will not be having this ability active, and it means that the character will become a lot more inconsistent. So again, big benefits, big drawbacks. And then you talk about the last thing, the ultimate ability. 50% bonus magic damage increase, doubles the damage of your basic attack, makes your basic attack both faster and has more range. You take 50% less damage. You also have a movement speed buff, even though it's a +10, but it is going to be an ultimate ability that lasts for 15 seconds and a 40-second cooldown. And if you want to maintain it, you need to use cooldown reduction. And at that point, if you want to use a cooldown reduction ultimate ability based character, there's other characters that can do it better. Like for example, Dino Tamer. That's the main example that I can just give it to you. But yeah, for the most part, it's just going to be just constantly in downtime. And also it just doesn't fix like none of the problems with all of the other abilities. Spitfire is still single target that you had to hit with basic attack to get a Burn Offering is still something that you had to throw it down and then just wait until detonates. Is the basic attack while being just pretty good. Again, it's just tied to the ultimate ability. That's the only thing that just gets benefited from. But outside of that, like pretty much everything else is just going to be mediocre for dungeon grinding. You know, for bossing it's all right. It can do pretty good damage because you generally don't need to just go ahead and just hit the enemy as fast as possible, kill it as fast as possible with just instant cast ability, because the bosses usually have a lot of HP, battles last a lot longer, and so on and so forth. And in the case of like dungeon grinding, enemies died in less than a second. Like you had to kill enemies in less than a second if you want to constantly speed farm, and the character just doesn't have the tool to be a consistent sub 1 second boss killer. And that's what makes the characters like setup type characters not necessarily the best for dungeon grinding, because by the time that it takes you to set everything up to do damage, some of the other characters already can kill the boss and move on to the next dungeon. And you have to keep in mind that the only movement speed buff that this character has is either the ultimate ability, which is only +10, which is not that high, and the other one is +75%, but you need to be touching in lava all the time, which is not consistent. It just has big benefits, big drawbacks. So we had the burst damage for U11, which is very important, but the damage comes slowly. It has the second highest movement speed buff in the entirety of the game, but it's wildly inconsistent. It has some of the best momentum in the entirety of the game with Spitfire, but the ability is not available 100% of the time. It has an amazing ultimate ability that only lasts for 15 seconds, so you need cooldown reduction to have it consistently. And again, all extremely good attributes for speed farming, but all major drawbacks that just makes the character just okay inside U11. If you don't care about speed farming in general, then this class is just great. The damage is really good, especially like damage and crowd control. If you want to complete dungeon as fast as possible, then obviously this might not be the class for it, but you can still technically speed farm with this character. I'm not saying that you cannot do it. You can still do it. You can still just be effective with this class in general. If you want to compete with some of the top dungeon grinding characters, you will be just like 1 or 2 steps behind, because all of the ability just takes a little bit to actually just get set it up Anyway, that's going to be everything for me. That's just everything related to the Draco. Let me know what you think on this video in the comment section down below. Once again, you use whichever character that you do like. At the end of the day, this is just my own personal opinion. If you have your own opinion, just let it know in the comment section down below. Just be civil about it, then let's just see what you think about the character in general. Thank you once again for watching. Leave a like, subscribe for more content like this, and I hope to see you guys next time. Take care and keep on hunting. And this has been the 40k PR video on the Dracolyte.